Onwards with the Lincoln Green 4-door that's been in my workshop for a little while now, but in this episode, can we get the ABS reinstatement to work? And before we get on with it, can you check you're subscribed? Even if you think you are, just double check, please. Subscriber counts are going up. Channel is performing nicely now, maybe because I'm swearing a little bit less. I don't know. Anyway, if you're not subscribed, why ever not? Please consider it. If you fancy contacting me, then it's churchhouseclassics, and that's all one word, @gmail.com. There's only one of me. It might take me a little while to get back to you, but I will get back to you. If you fancy supporting the channel, I do appreciate any support that I do receive. And there's a PayPal me link scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. Thank you very much. Enjoy the feature. This chappie, that's the remains of the original factory connector that went to the back of the left-hand headlight unit. So the headlight unit has this loom down here fitted to it. And I went through my box of bits of loom that I stripped out over the years that I've been pulling these things apart, and whenever I come across a scrap loom, well, I save it. And you lot will all be saying, you complete knob. Well, there's a fusible link. I only need one wire out of that in order to reinstate a fusible link, sock of doom. However, what I did find was exactly the same connector. So I spliced it in. Just used the butt splices there with a bit of heat shrink over the top. I'm going to bind that up, and that's a repair done. Well, not new, but a better condition wrist connector for the headlights, for the left-hand headlight. The one on the right-hand side was no problems at all. But it's silly things like that and a mashed-up connector. It just introduces unreliability, and then what will happen is, I don't know, probably the earth connector in there, the earth pin in there will start to go high resistance, and then it will introduce some heat, and then the connector will fall apart a bit more, and so forth. I mean, someone's actually spliced this thing on. So this must have been better than what was on there already. Because those splices, they're not mine. They're splices that I chopped out, I liberated. So this must have been better than what was on it already. And there's only one place for this. Right, another job done. So I'm going to bind that up. Salvaging wires as well. I don't use this stuff whole scale, but sometimes when you need just a little bit of purple wire and it's not burnt, no reason why you can't. I mean, the loom's X number of years old. Right, so I'm going to do that, bind that up and get that in. Now the next thing I need to do is to extend the loom for the pump from here to there. So I shall chop that, take that connector off, find some nice big fat brown and red wire, which I'll probably be able to find somewhere, yeah, extend that loom so that we've got the power to the pump. And then I need to extend this chappie. It does just about fit, but it's stretching it, and I'd rather not. These things are not exactly the most reliable connections, and I'm also missing the wire surround off it as well, so I'm going to have to look to see if I can find a suitable wire surround, otherwise it's going to get zip tied in place, which is not ideal. So the wire surround on this is okay, but it then falls off as soon as you take the, because this has been mashed around with as well. But I think once it's in place, it's fine. I can't get it back on now because it's all mashed. Nothing's ever bloody easy, is it, Richard? And I'm working one-handed. Of course I'm working one-handed. Right, let's get that back on. But that's the wire. There we go. That's back in, and then that can go back on, and then that can click back down again. Right, that's back on. So that's it locks the connector in place. It's not the most brilliant bloody wire clip, I'll be honest. It's in, but it's all a bit shit. I might see if I can find a better wire clip than that. Anyway, it's just distractions from what we should be doing, which is getting this thing sorted out. Stormy day today. Anyway, over the weekend I bled the brakes through on this with my wife's help. Much appreciated, Jackie, thank you very much. and no real issues with it. So bled all the brakes through. The pump, the P38 pump, is working beautifully. You can see here I extended the loom. I need to tuck this up and out of the way of the ignition coil. The ignition coil can run hot. I don't want the wires melting onto it. So literally just whizzed it up to the end of the yard and back again. I read the ABS codes. Now, where are we? So ABS codes initially were a world of everything. The first one, unfortunately, was stoplight switch. Yeah, put the stoplight switch back on, Richard. So I got rid of that one. Cleared all the codes down, and it was all over the place. Even though I pulled the fuse out after the last time I cleared the codes, it seems to have inherited another load of codes. Ran it up to the end of the road again and back, and all it's come back with is 414, which is front left. This corner down here, sensor is out of range, air gap is too big, whatever. So that could have been the only reason why the ABS was decommissioned on this bloody thing. So that could have been the only reason why the ABS was decommissioned, which is unusual, isn't it? Right, the other thing I did was I replaced the vacuum advance module down here. Beautiful. So that came from Distributor Doctor, and they provide those refurbished. You need to send the old unit back to them, otherwise they withhold a core deposit for you. But that's made a massive difference. This car goes like stink. It really does. It goes like a 3.9 should go. So I think the customer's going to be pleased with that. Next, I started looking at the base idle speed. Now, I can't get a reliable base idle speed setting, and I suspect throttle position sensor, so I need rover gauge in order to check that out. The other thing is the wire clip was never particularly good on the airflow meter, the 5am airflow meter, which is a nasty pattern copy as well. So I'm going to get rover gauge on here and see if we can't get this engine to run even nicer. Because the problem is that it starts up nicely. In fact, we'll do it. Let's do it. Let's show you exactly what it's doing. Battery on. And then we'll go through a couple of the little issues that I've been working through. So, right, ABS is currently off and disconnected anyway, so I'm not bothered about that. But when we neutral, that's what it's doing. I can't get the base idle to do anything different to that. When I rev it, just going down into the... It takes too long to come back down to zero again. It's running sweet. Love the way these things rock. The way it rocks across to that side when you rev them. I love these cars. I like this one. I'm getting used to this one. The colour is really growing on me. Really. A lot of people have commented that the colour really suits the Classic. And yeah, it does. And it's kind of when Land Rover, I think they got to the 50th anniversary and they were painting the current Range Rovers. They did a whole load of them in Tuscan blue, the original blue, early A-suffix blue. The flat colours, they just suit them. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're rambling. Right, next thing is I have been messing around. You can see the doors apart again. There's a reason the doors apart again, and that's because I blew the one lift window lift ECU again. And it's over there. I've replaced it with another unit. And the problem is, this glass gets to this point, i.e. that far from the top, and then says, I'm not going up any higher than that. That is all you're getting. I've even put power directly to the motor, and it won't go any higher than that. So I'm going to have to take the motor out, see if the problem's with the motor, i.e. it's becoming overloaded, and the motor's weak, or that the problem is with the supply, or perhaps with the felts, or with the channel, or whatever. Really, I need to get this waste seal out of the way. In order to get the waste seal out of the way, you need to take the mirror out, which is dead easy on these, because all you do is you take this plastic triangle off here. I'm going to do it with two hands in a second. Get a pry bar behind there, lift that off. It's held on with two plastic plugs, and then there'll be two electrical connectors down here, 3 crosshead screws. Mirror comes off. That's out of the way. Then the waste seal can come off. Then I'm going to work out why this drop glass is now misbehaving, because this one was okay. These door seals that I put on, that I was eulogising about. This side, not too bad. It does close with a firm, closes nicely. When I put the seal on this side, I couldn't close the door. I had to really slam it. The seal's off it now, you see, because the seal's in a bag somewhere, probably in the front of my disco, because it's going back. So that was the left-hand front door seal. I couldn't get to fit. Now I put the seal then, because I was thinking, right, okay, they're going to argue it's Range Rover Classic. So I then put the seal on there. Couldn't get the door closed. So the seal was just too fat. So that was irritating. And then the last thing I've been battling with, which is a pain in the backside, is the sunroof. It tilts beautifully, but it won't slide. And what happens is, I've taken this rubber off now, but the rubber was just sticking up in the middle there where it joins around the glass. So it's just sticking up enough that when it was coming down, it was catching on the edge of the roof panel. And didn't actually want to drop down far enough that it could go backwards. Now, the seal is the same, I believe the same as the P38 seal, completely and utterly unavailable. Can't find one anywhere, apart from comedy price used old stock items. Well, I've got a used old stock item, I don't need another used old stock item. So I'm going to attempt to see if I can't get this seal to fit better, and then consult with the customer on exactly where we're going to go with that. Other than that, largely been just putting things back together again, getting things back into the car and trying to get them so. See, that doesn't close as nicely as it did, but it closes with 2 fingers. 2 fingers is better than 1 finger apparently. And then bonnet release cable snapped. Here comes the next load of rain, I think. Yeah, here we go. Tail of the big old storm keeps sweeping over. And we had an absolutely biblically black cloud up there just now. It's gone. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, we are where we are. So I'm going to look at this sensor on this corner. What will probably need to happen is I will jack up, wheel off, lift the sensor out of the housing, clean it up, shove it back in again, see if it solves the problem. More often than not, it's just a case that the wheel sensor has come out. I'll also, before I take the wheel off, just double check things like swivel pins, because if the top swivel pin is shagged out like this one is, that's the hole that the ABS sensor goes down into. And if this is shagged out enough, as this one is, that it allows just even a couple of thou of movement in the top of the swivel housing, then that throws the ABS sensor up. And the ABS sensor says, I'm not having that. And in fact, these are both off Dale's car, which is outside my workshop at the moment. Both of these were shagged out. Right, onwards. That's the panel that goes on the inside there. There's a bracket which goes on the inside there, and there's 2 holes on it that panel fits into. So you can just see how that all, chuck it around, Richard, you moron. You can see how those 2 lugs there go into these 2 holes here, and then there's 3 screws go through there and into the side of the mirror. Now, I've got an issue with the mirror. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? Oh, hello. Yay! Get yourself a shave, Richard, and lose some weight as well, you fat bastard. There's no electrics in it. I have never seen one of these without any electrics in them whatsoever. So I'm going to pop the glass out and see what's going on there. But it also means I'll probably want to get that one apart as well. Because if we haven't got any electrics in the door mirrors, which seems very, very, very odd to me, it doesn't feel like it's got motors in there. We'll have a look in a minute. I'm getting the seat ECU replaced, not because the driver's seat needs to move around or anything like that, but because the mirrors don't work on the dashboard. That's a Vogue SE thing. Anyway, I've then found out why the window is not going up and down. Can you see it down there? See that white thing about there? That's the connector for the central locking, and it's got itself caught. So it's running up and down the glass, but it's catching on the lip, which is swollen up there on the bottom of the glass. So probably could do with putting some wax in there Yeah. So I'm just going to undo the 4 bolts, take the central locking module out, pull the connector, put the zip tie back on it because it's not there for some reason. I'll reconnect that, and that'll mean that this window then, because it has been working fine, and then all of a sudden it stopped working. Probably to show me, because everything happens for a reason, that there are no electrics inside the mirror. There's the 2 connectors in the door, so these connect up into the main loom. Fun and games, eh? Never mind. Every minute. At least I don't have to take the door frame out. For completeness, that blue bound lump of shite there goes into... Get my chair under my arse so I don't fall over. Let's put that there. That tees off, goes along the top of the door here. In fact, that's it there. You can see the grey cable there. So it comes off there, goes along the top of the door there, along the top of the door, and then comes down here, which is where it attaches onto the central locking module. And it also then goes up here. Now, because this was all bundled up and everything, the connector was too far that way. That's where I normally zip tie the connector onto. So there's the connector. And torch over here. There's the connector. And you've got access to the damn thing now. And there's the zip tie on it. So then all you really need to do is to fold the cable. You can see that it has naturally folded at some point. Thank you, gravity. Has naturally folded at some point in the past in that place, which is exactly how they're supposed to go. So that's what caused the problem with the window. I think probably it has been an intermittent fault that has been there since this door was assembled by who knows who. Right. I'm quite pleased about that. Let's get that sorted out and I can get this door back together again. Make sure all the wires and everything are out of the way. And not too much time spent. But you can see the glass has gone right the way up now. I've moved that connector out of the way. Silly arse. Well, there's the mirror glass off. Get these mirror glasses off, by the way. It's not a huge kerfuffle. What you need to do is push the glass across so it's like that. Reach behind, pull the clip back. Yep, and it comes off in your hand. Now, interesting bug nest up there. It's long dormant, but yeah, there's a bug nest in there. But no motors at all. I've never seen one of these without any motors at all. There's another bug nest behind there. I've never seen these without any motors whatsoever. So that's unusual. Poverty spec mirror. Never seen one like that. I keep saying. Anyway. Right, reseated the ABS sensor down here. Take wheel off, lift ABS sensor out, clean it, push it back in again. And quick test drive, and we're still getting the same fault on this same corner. So then you will go through the electrical testing in the book, which is down here. Here we go. Here's the book. Let's take the book over to the bench and talk about the electrical testing, because this is all amusing. All amusing. Right, so this is out of the electrical troubleshooting manual, which I've got online. I just print off a copy of it and I keep it in the workshop because I go through this quite a lot. And in here, it goes through the fairly basic process of doing the blink tests, and also gives you a circuit diagram. So there's the blink test instructions. And then it tells me down here, when I go down to code 414, which is the only code that's coming up, 414 comes up as, here we are, 414 indicates an open in the left front wheel speed sensor, X137. Wiring, start diagnosis at test A, step 5A. So we're going to test A. Where are we? Right, test A, and then 5A, which is that one? 4A, 5A. I probably should have printed this out on A4 because I'll be able to see it. And then you're faced with this kind of weirdness, which is the ABS connector. Well, it doesn't look like that. It looks like that. 2 rows. Okay, so it goes from pin 1 to pin 18, pin 19 to pin 35. And what I've been able to do just by pulling that that spare unit apart is I've written down all the pin numbers, and from the wiring diagram I have written down all the pin numbers and what colour goes to those pins, and then pulled the sheath back on my loom to identify the colours. So what we've effectively got at this end is 3 brown wires, which is pins 35, 34 and 33, okay, on the short row. And then on the long row, because this one's got an extra nodule on it, we've got 3 black wires at this end. And the testing so far has proven that to be accurate. So, just whack myself in the face with a load of relays. Silly arse. So when you pull the cable off the front of the ECU, looking at the connectors on the cable, you've got the cable coming in from the right hand side, from the transmission tunnel side. The bottom row is 1 to 18, the top row is 19 to 35, if you get my drift. Now, so I thought, well, do you know what, rather than testing here, well, sorry, I did test here, so I tested here. Let me go and show you what happened then. Right, we're going round over here now. Let's take this torch with me, because otherwise we're going to have flickery lampy flickery. Right, hopefully we can see. Hopefully we are not flickering. Now, we'll have here the multimeter on the ohm range, which can sit just there. And then we get our connector. And we want to go between pins 32 and 15. Now these 2 pins, they'll be diagonally opposite each other. So we've got 35, 35, 34, 33, 32. And the one that's diagonally opposite it on the above slant is the corresponding pin. And I'm getting open circuit on that. If I go back to the next one, which is going to be 33 and 16, I should get between 1.5 and 2 ohms. Because we're working quite cack-handedly here, aren't we, Richard? It's not the easiest thing to fucking get into, I'll be honest. There's probably no need to swear. It really would help if my knees weren't also catching on the cable. So what I'll do is I'll just put this in here. There we are. So we're now getting... Well, this one isn't working now. What is going on? This was fucking working just now. Have I just pulled all the bloody cables out? Is that what's happened? Oh. So we're measuring in the kilo ohm range, Richard, not in the ohm range. So if I go to the very, very, very last 2 pins, there's an outtake there, isn't there? Very, very, very last 2 pins on the connector, and connect those 2 together on the kilo ohm range, I should get between 1.5 and 2 kilo ohms. And I'm getting 1.6. Okay, so then we go along to the next one, which is one of the other wheel sensors, and I'm getting 1.6, and the next one, .6, and finally left hand front, nothing. Right, so now we need to go to the engine bay. Oh, just walking through the diagnosis on this, because this is probably the reason, almost certainly the reason why the ABS was kind of ripped out, because someone just did not understand it. So for the front sensors, you need to find the connector which is nearest the wheel that you want to do, and it's just a 2-pin connector. It's dead easy, plugs together like that. If you can't see that, I'm afraid, sorry, airflow meters in the way. Now I've taken the wheel end of that sensor and I'm going to put in my 2 probes on the kilo ohm range, Richard, into the housing, and we're going to see, right, there we are, touching the 2 contacts. Yeah, we're more or less completely open circuit on that. Now, I've got a used old stock sensor here. Oh, I've positioned that there. So used old stock sensor. We'll go in on the same two connectors. I don't know if this one works. Meter just very helpfully decided it wants to go off at that particular moment. It times out. Right, there we are. There's one. And we want between 1.5 and 2 ohms. And I can't actually see what's going on in here. There we are. Right, so I'm getting 1 point. It's coming out. These are not the most efficient of things because they've got a bloody great shoulder on them, which is really not helpful. Fuck you. Right, that can go in there. That's just clicked in. Now let's go in on the side and right, there we are. So this used old stock sensor would appear to be working. Now, do we put the used old stock sensor on there to prove the point? I think we do. Because it looks like the factory original sensor is at fault. So what I'll do now is I'll show you how I get the damn thing out. You should be able to see now. So I've loosened the brake bracket. There's the ABS sensor, and all I normally do is get the screwdriver underneath the tip of the sensor, and this has already been out, so this will be easier, and lever it against the bolt head on the top of the swivel pin, and torch is in the way, predictably, and it starts to come up. Now, as soon as it starts to come up, I'll just knock the torch out of the way then, it should come all the way. Bearing in mind this thing's only just been put back in again. It comes. You probably can't see because I'm in the way. Oh, come on, you bastard. Like I say, this thing's only just been out. So of course it's not going to play nicely. Oh look, torch is running out. That's good, that's really helpful. Come on, you fuck. Right, here she comes. They're not normally this sticky. I don't know why that has suddenly gone so sticky. Right, okay. And then the sensor comes out. And there he is. Right, so now I need to unroot this and wind it back out and get it out of the car. Fitted the replacement sender. Nothing particularly nasty to it, just lube it, shove it in, push it down as far as it will go. Route the pipework, route the cable work around and connect it. Take it out for a test drive. Find that the ABS light is still on and think, oh, for frith's sake. Come back, think, just before I lob it back in the garage, I will just double check the error codes. Realise that the ECU cable was still disconnected, you silly arse. Reconnect the ECU cable. ABS is beautiful, works beautifully. I've been through some fairly wet, kind of inconsistent parts of the circuit around the estate here. ABS is working beautifully. No error codes have come back. All of the four corners are reading correctly, so I'm going to assume that the ABS is going to be working just fine. The car will go in for an MOT before it goes back to the customer anyway, but this could be one job ticked off. Next up is going to be, I've got a tick on the exhaust on this side. That manifold needs to come off. Oh dear Lord, no. Yes, I'm sorry, exhaust manifold needs to come off. So while the engine's warm, I'm going to get the air filter out of the way and see if I can't get those bolts at least feel like they're going to loosen. Because if they ain't going to loosen, I ain't going to go with it. I'll leave it. Because I'm not getting into another head gasket job because the exhaust bolts have been glued in. And yes, the other thing I need to do, which I'm going to do tomorrow, is I'll bring my laptop up, plug the rover gauge in and work out why base idle speed is misbehaving. It will be airflow meter, throttle position sensor, stepper valve, or anything in between. I just need to find out. I can't get the base idle speed working in the traditional manner.